Hello everyone, and welcome to the workbench, or at least one of the workbenches of Quark Audio. I want to start doing a few more on the bench type videos. I've started sharing some posts like that on my other social medias, and I want to start branching out more into YouTube. As I have noted in my other videos, I am a dealer and distributor of Angela-Gilbert Yeung components, but my main busy work, of course, is as a repair technician. I've been a audio and electronics repair technician for almost a decade now in various aspects, and for the past 2 years specifically in the high-end audio industry. Have been the warranty repair tech for a number of brands for new models that have come out over the past couple of years. You've seen some of those models come through here, such as some of the tube amplifiers. There's been some other amplifiers, etc., that have come through. I don't share too much on the warranty work, but I want to start sharing more on the actual other repairs. So this is an interesting one that I got in the past week, and it's cool for a couple of different reasons. One is it's a unique Blue Circle piece because this is a preamplifier, but it's also an integrated DAC, a digital analog converter as well. This is the Blue Circle TVA Preamplifier, and it has Toslink, BNC, RCA, or XLR inputs, or you have two analog inputs as well. So another thing that I thought was really unique about this, besides the fact that if you type it into Google or any search bar, you're not going to find much information about this preamplifier. I like anything that is rare or specifically unique, so I don't know if this was a one-off piece, if not many of them have made it out there, or if they're just, being enjoyed in someone's system. As I noted, unfortunately this one needed repair, but the repair is going to be fairly simple, and after that I'm going to work on a couple of upgrades for this preamplifier. But I wanted to talk on the aesthetics of it a little bit, because that's one of the biggest things that caught my eye taking this out of the box. So it is a Blue Circle component. It's not a modern Gilbert Yeung branded component. So, but besides that, it still has some of those base aesthetics that you see on the modern components. We have the reflective black acrylic faceplate with the gold lettering throughout. Of course, the center mounted blue circle that glows blue. And these knobs, I'm fairly sure, are the same type of knobs even used on the C312, with the exception being that on the C312, these are actually painted, so they're not as eye-catching, and they have a bit more of a texture to them. I believe the C318 still uses these bare metal type knobs. So you start to see some of those base aesthetics coming through, but what one of my curiosities is knowing Gilbert Yeung, this is still more or less utilitarian compared to a lot of the other work or components that I've seen. It's fairly just a rectangular box. You don't see the artistic expression that you do with the C312, with the multiple layers of acrylic and the shapes that break up just the regular rectangular shape of the preamplifier. So I don't know if this was just a custom commission or what have you. But go ahead and go into the inside here, show some of the build of it. Of course, we still have the solid steel chassis, varying from where most components use aluminum. So you take the lid off, or even looking at the back, you notice that it is not black. It is the blue powder-coated steel that is typically used throughout many Blue Circle components. So this is the same steel and the same color as the BC202 power amplifier that I'm finishing up working on currently. So that's just a cool feature as well. This seems like a very interconnecting piece between Blue Circle and current Gilbert Yeung components, and some of the interior will show some of that as well. So coming in here to the interior, talking about some of the changes, you start to see more use of silicone. Now before, in some of the Blue Circle designs, you might see more use of zip ties or other ways of mounting, but in this unit you start to see more of the silicone. So silicone has a couple of benefits. One is it's good for thermals. I've actually got some even here, thermal pads. So thermal pads, even depending on which ones you get, are silicone based. They're great for heat. So even for these diode bridges here, this is working as an adhesive that is holding it where it needs to be, and heat's not going to damage it. I'm not sure exactly how many years old this preamplifier is, but you note there is no heat damage at all. There's no browning, nothing like that. And also, silicone has a level of give to it, and that give does not dry up. So this will absorb any type of vibration that might affect some of these sensitive components, such as you have two transformers here, so any vibrations from the transformers are not going to interact with anything else within the chassis. It's also used here as a movable type mount for this 14 gauge solid core copper. It's that way it makes sure that all of the tension is not put on the individual solder joints throughout here. Of course, it's still a very nice, big, bulky, robust power supply, and it is in two sections. It is two separate power supplies. One feeds only the digital side, and then we have this power supply here that feeds the two separate analog stages. One's an extra gain section for the DAC, and one is the actual output that drives your interconnects and power amplifier. Another thing I'd like to point out, of course, we have our nice big actual mechanical switch, but you see it is actually manually mounted in here with a nice chunk of blue acrylic. So this is also something that you see used throughout a lot of Blue Circle components. So in the BC202, the input stage is actually built on this blue acrylic. So I just like seeing little pieces like that that show the true custom nature of it. This helps actually connect this so that it is a nice solid connection. And it also allows for the same chassis to be utilized for essentially whatever you need it to be. This is a preamplifier, but turning it around, you see it has these holes blocked off. And that shape, if you could probably guess it, is for if this was a power amplifier. So that is where, if you had them, that's where your binding post would be and the output stage would actually be. But this is a preamplifier, so with the utilization of silicone and the acrylic here and other aspects, it allows this chassis to be used for whatever you need it to be if it can fit within here. So just one of the cool custom features there. Of course, we have signal wires here that are twisted so that they do not interact with anything. Everything else is just out in the open. Of course, digital here is the only type of wiring that is ran together, and this is for your actual source switch. So that's just telling the DAC which source to choose. We have the analog inputs here. They're ran along the bottom of the amp, right close to the actual signal chassis ground plane, nice and quiet for any of the analog stages. And it comes up here to your actual source selector switch that gets jumped over to your volume attenuator. Give you a quick look at the back here. Got your main outputs, and then of course your digital inputs and analog inputs. The letters across the top are actually flipped, and I think that's something else cool, because how many times have you been craning your neck over a component trying to figure out where to properly connect everything? So if you're one of those people who switches a lot of components out, that's something I like to see. So as I said, I finished the diagnosis on this, but I need to go ahead and finish the repair. I'll be doing that next week. And once that's done, I will actually be upgrading this as well. I'll be adding 2 SP jacks to greatly increase the internal capacitance of both sides of this power supply. We're going to go ahead and keep the digital and analog sections separate. So stay tuned for more updates on the Blue Circle TVA.